right, and we're back again for another episode of the Young Millionaire in Training Podcast, YMIT Podcast. Today, I have the ever so intelligent and wonderful LaTwana Taylor, better known as LT to probably some of the people
Hello.
closer to her. So I was actually telling her before we got started that, of course, I had not had the privilege of meeting her in person, although we run in some of the same circles. And we even attend the same church, and I use that term extremely loosely because she actually attends and I don't. So I use that. I'm part of the YouTube congregation. Okay. Yeah, I'm part of the YouTube social media congregation. I'm anti. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm a little anti, but in my mind, we all attend the same church. Like, so she be there. Anywho.
We'll take it. We'll take
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we'll take it. I'll be seeing everything. I don't miss nothing. So anyway, Miss LT, she is a author, a woman of God, just an amazing person, an amazing light to be around. She just shines. If you happen to be listening and not watching on YouTube, you'll see she has a really, really big smile. Like she just lights up a room when she smiles. So she just like a literal light, okay? Like literal light, okay? Ah,
Thanks.
absolutely, absolutely. So that was my little brief intro of you, but give us a brief bio about who Miss LaTwana is.
Yes. So my name is LaTwana Taylor. I was born in San Antonio, not raised, but born, but I still call Texas home. I am a Texas girl till I die. My parents, or my dad was in the military, so I moved around a lot. So I am very well rounded, well versed in all things. I moved back here after graduating from high school to attend college. I went to Our Lady of the Lake University, got my bachelor's and my master's, started my career very early. I was 19. Um, and fast forward, I uh, I lost my mother at the age of 25. And that's really when my life began for real, because things got real, right?
Understand.
So yeah, that's me. I because of that happening to me, I got really, really heavy into the church.
Mhm.
My faith definitely grew. I mean, it grew fast and quick. I kind of had to, right?
Right.
Just so that I could try to get over what had happened to me. With that being said, I became a licensed minister, which is one of the greatest callings I could ever fulfill.
Awesome.
God has been good to me. And so this is the least that I could do, right? Is to serve
Mhm.
him and his church. So that is me. And I'm an author. Like that's crazy to me still. It's still crazy that I can Google myself and also put my name in Amazon and boom, my picture and my book comes up. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
No, I love it. And it shouldn't be crazy to you because even as I think of you, LaTwana, you're an author. Like that's what I think of you. That's my personal. If somebody asked me,
Yeah.
usually that's what I said. If somebody asked me what you did, she's an author. That's exactly what I would tell them. And a
Yeah.
minister, I would also say that too. But um, so I know you mentioned in your intro in your biography or short autobiography, I guess, um,
Mhm.
about how you started your life really started with after your mother passed. And the name of her book
Yeah.
is Pearls from Mama, correct? Or Pearls from
Pearls from Mama, how
Pearl
losing
from Mama.
me or how losing her taught me to live. Yes.
Right.
That's the
So
subtitle. Mhm.
as of course many of my listeners know, I've been super, super heavy on mental health this season.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the business side of the book, what that's like,
Okay.
and then also a little bit about what you actually went through that made you
Yeah.
write the book and what's a little sneak peek. Y'all still got to read the book. She is not going to give you the entire book. You still
No,
got to
I'm
go
not.
buy the book. Okay, it's in my Amazon store. It's down in the bio. It's down in the description. Okay, go click that right now. You
Yes.
can still keep listening. Go click it, get
Yes.
it.
Go click it.
Okay, so give us a little brief summary of what we can expect when we read the book.
So, what you can expect is practical ways to grieve properly. I did not grieve properly. I went through a really, really rough patch, almost 6 years of just torturing myself, you know, because I didn't understand mental health. I didn't understand what was going on with me. I was 25. I mean, I was young. I thought that I knew all the things, right? And I did
Right.
not know any of the things. So I was young and I just was just trying to function. I really was. I was just trying to function without my mom. You know, my parents were my everything. They both were like my best friends growing up. But also parents for sure. But my mother and I had a special bond, a really, really special bond. And so losing her really sent me into a whirlwind. So what you're going to find in this book is a lot of the things not to do. But then towards the end, you'll start to see the things that you should do. But I give them to you practically, right? So that it's not, oh, my earring's falling out, guys. This is live, as you can see. um, so, you know, you're going to get some practical things that you can do to help yourself to get out of the rut, to get out of the grieving process in a proper way. Like I said, I went through a lot of rough patches and I didn't have the proper guidance, I think, to walk me through the proper ways to grieve. And so because I now have those ways, I'm not an expert by any means, but I did get over this thing, right? I'm 11 years in this thing, and you know, the way that I looked even 5 years ago is completely different now. I'm much more healthy mentally, spiritually for sure. Physically, I'm even more healthier than I've ever been. And so I give you practical ways on how to overcome grief. So yeah, I'm hoping that that's what you get when you're finished with this book.
No, that's amazing. And that practicality is so good. So even not to make it about me, but as I've been going through my mental health journey, those
Mm-hmm.
practical ways were something that I was able to use to bridge that gap between what I knew and what I was actually getting out of the Bible or from a spiritual standpoint.
Yes,
Because
yes.
sometimes when you're I kind of learned the difference of, reading the Bible in spirit and the truth. And I just wasn't doing that. So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
helping me in some lights. But when I could break it down and relate it to some practicality or get some practicality that was spiritually based, it helped me
Yes.
be able to understand the Bible more. And once again, that's why I was kind of wanting to bring you on to talk about
Mm-hmm.
some of these things with the book, because for me that spirituality piece was that missing piece that helped me get
Yeah.
back to the mental health, but I had to go through some practicality in order to
Yeah.
get to a place
I
where I could
tell you,
accept it.
man, listen, people can say pray about it all they want. They can say pray about it. They can say just trust God. You know, He takes His strongest soldiers first. All that may be very true.
Mhm.
However, comma and space, I need to know what I actually need to do to get through this spot in my life where I'm feeling like I just want to fight everybody, where I'm feeling like I just, you know, I don't want to even get out of bed. Like you need to know what to do with those things. And I wanted to provide that to people or for people, so that they know that how they're feeling it, they're not crazy, right? Like they're
Mhm.
not, what you're feeling is real, right? What you're feeling is real. And so I needed to one write it so that I could get it out of my system, but then also so that eventually I could help someone who was just like me trying to get over a loss. And so that's why the practicality of it all was super important to me. I just needed to be able to say, hey, this is step one, step three, step four. Because that's how I learn. That's how
Mhm.
I relate to things, is if I'm able to have steps that I can follow that will really help me. And then also being disciplined to be able to follow those steps too. So it's a little bit of those two mixed in together.
Absolutely. So if I can kind of go, and actually this was not on the question list, so don't get at me too much.
Okay.
Step one, give me a brief synopsis of step one. Like, what's the very first thing that I do um in the process?
Yeah. There's a chapter in my book. It's called Hot. And what I had to do with myself is be really honest, open, and transparent with myself. And the truth of the matter is, I was not okay.
Mhm.
I just wasn't. And I had to be honest with myself. I had to tell myself, okay, girl, you're not going through life the best way that you can be, and this is not what God made you for, and this is not who God wanted you to be with. I mean, there were so many things, right? But I had to be honest with myself. There was one morning I woke up from a crazy night before, just being
Mhm.
honest and transparent here, and I looked at myself in the mirror and was like, who are you? Like, what is happening? This is not who you are. This is not how you've been raised. This is who I see in the mirror is a person who is screaming for help
Mhm.
and doesn't know how to ask for the help properly because pride, right? Because you just want to appear to be okay when you're really not. And so I had to be honest with myself and I had to be honest with God. That morning, I prayed a prayer that I don't think I've ever even prayed again. Like, I've never had to pray that prayer again. I've never even prayed like that in my life. But I was screaming. I was talking to God. I was just telling him the things that I had done, even though I knew he had knew all the things, right? But I had to be honest. It was important for me to just say it to him so that he could begin to really just take out those things that were really in my heart and bothering me and weighing me down. And so that's the first step. Be honest with yourself, be honest with God, get that prayer out. And it don't have to sound like holier than thou. Just state what it is, state what the problem is, state what's happening in your life, state what's happening in your mind. And God will handle the rest. I can't tell y'all that enough. God will handle the rest once you become honest with him about how you're feeling and about what you need. So yeah, that's step one.
No, that's man, that is amazing and spot on. Because one of the things I share really briefly, so it was December the 4th of this past year, and I had that very hot moment, make it hot.
Mhm.
I had that hot
Yes.
moment with Guy, and I literally laid on the floor in full submission mode, and I was like, God, I'm
Yeah.
not leaving here until I get an answer. I was like, I don't even need it fixed all right now, but I'm not leaving. And that was the most transparent that I've been in a prayer. So
Yeah.
I love that you said that. See, that's how
Yeah.
y'all know she got good stuff, y'all, because she said exactly, yeah, she's spot on. Um, so obviously we know your mother passing was a big
Mhm.
motivation for the book. Okay, as far
Yeah.
as what took you through the process to write a book, but what
Yeah.
was the motivation to write said book and actually want to share that? Because that's a big accomplishment. I was sharing that with her before we got started. I was like, I want to write a book. Yeah. So what kind of motivates you? Like, okay, let me get this out.
Yeah. So one thing, and I talk about this in my book too, one thing that my mother instilled in me very early on was to write my feelings. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of notebooks I have still when I was like 12 and 13 that I still have now to this day. She was an avid writer. She loved to read, she loved to write. And so she, in turn, kind of made me a reader and a writer as well. But I talk about this in my book. There was a moment we were at church, and I had never heard of prophesying, had never even seen it at all. But there was this moment where we were in church, and a prophet or the pastor at the time was prophesying, and he asked my mother to come to the front. And I wasn't about to let her go up there by herself. I think I was like 13 or 14. So I went there right next to her. And I'm standing there next to her and I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but I know I ain't leaving my mama's side. And so he's ministering to her, he's, prophesying. And then he looks at me and he says, this little girl's name will be written for people to see. She will heal, and she'll do it by books. She'll do it by writing. She'll do it by speaking. And of course, I'm like 13, 14. So I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about, but I know one thing. It ain't going to be
Mhm.
none of that. Right.
Mhm.
So my mother, of course, she's crying and carrying on and all these things. And so we go back and we sit, and then this big thing happens. I'm 25 and my mother passes away from breast cancer. And the only thing that I could do besides run my life down was write. I wrote on anything that was near me. It could be I remember being at a restaurant, it was a napkin, and it was something that I wanted to write, and I wrote it down on them people's napkins, and I took it with me. It was like one of those cloth napkins,
Mhm.
and I pulled out a pen, wrote what I was feeling at the moment, and I stuck that napkin in my purse and took it with me, and that's how the writing started. It didn't
Mhm.
matter where I was, what I was doing, who I was with. If it was in my head, if it was a negative thought, I had to get it out so that I could either burn it later or use it, right, in some kind of way. And so, I don't know, maybe 10 notebooks later and about 8 years later, I said, okay, it's time. It's time for me to write this book. Um, Another little gem was that my mother was writing her own book.
Mm.
She was in chemo one day, and she said, I think I want to write about my experience. And so I went and I bought her a little mini laptop, and so that she could have when she goes to her chemo and radiation appointments. And I could not for the life of me find any of the stuff that she had written in this notebook or in this little mini laptop. And so I said, man, I really wanted to just continue her story. That was not in the plans. It was not in the plans for me to continue her story. It was definitely in the plans for me to start my own story about her. And so that was also a contributing factor to me writing it. And so, yeah, I would just say the two things was one, well, let me say three things. One, it was destined, right? God
Mhm.
said it a long time ago.
Absolutely.
I just had to fall in line. Second thing is writing was therapeutic for me. It was super therapeutic for me. And I encourage anybody who is going through any sort of loss, find what's therapeutic, but what's healthy and therapeutic for you, and do more of that, because that's what's going to get you through. Yes, praying, of course, by all means, talk to God, but whatever it is that is healthy and therapeutic for you, do it. That'll really help you. And then the third thing was just me wanting to really carry out a legacy, right? I wanted to finish what she was going to write. And although I could never find the things that she was writing about, it didn't stop me. I wanted to just um, do something that would honor her and that would still help people. That's the ultimate goal, is just the helping the people, right? Whatever it is that they're going through. And it doesn't have to be a loss of a person. It could be a loss of a job, a relationship, whatever the case may be. It's a loss, and a loss hurts. And so that's what was the motivating factors for me writing the book.
No, no, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And definitely destined. I will definitely say that. 'Cause you just have the aura of author about you. Um, yeah, you
I'm
just do. I
loving
don't even know
this.
how to explain it. Um, so this is kind of a two-part question, although it's one question.
Okay.
So the question about what was the process of writing your book like? So one, I mean the technical process, and then two, I mean like the emotional process,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously you digging into some pretty deep emotional things going
Yeah.
through it, and trying to stay focused on even the technical can be very
Mm-hmm.
difficult while you're doing that. So whichever one of those pieces you want to take first.
Yeah. Um, the I'll talk about the emotional part first. I
Mhm.
had to finish it. I had to finish it first before I even started the technical. I there were moments that I did not want to dig into. There was a moment 3 days before my mom passed away. She was alive and well. She was coherent, right? And I only say that to say because it can turn quickly. It could be one day that they're coherent, and then in the very next 2 hours they're not. But this day she was decent. She was coherent, and we were having a very real conversation. And when I say real, I mean she was telling me what she wanted her funeral to look like,
Mhm.
and who she wanted there, and what she wanted us to wear, and all these things. Like, that's how real this conversation was. And I was on the foot of her bed writing all these things down that she wanted me to carry out. She was a hairstylist here too, so she was telling me about, who she wanted to take over her shop, and how she wanted that to look. And so it was just a conversation that her and I were having, a very intimate one. And she stopped talking, and she looked at me, and she said, I'm not ready to leave you. And that, I was gone after that. I
Mhm.
put the writing down, and I just listened to my mom. I just listened to her tell me like the very final things that she wanted from me. And it was such an emotional moment, but it was a moment that now, oh, I cherish like no other. But it was hard to write because, again, it was a very final moment for my mom. That was actually the last conversation that her and I had, where she could hear what I was saying and I could hear what she was saying. And, we laughed and, shared tears together. Like it was the last like real conversation that we had. And then literally 3 days later, she passed. So that moment was so hard to write about, but I could imagine other people's situations where they didn't even get a chance to have those last minute conversations. And so I said, "Oh, girl, you got to push through this. You got to push through it because there's people here who didn't get to have conversations like that with their moms." And I can't even imagine. I can't even tell you the amount of 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds that I've encountered where they've lost their mom. I got 25 years with her. I feel like that's a blessing, like I feel like that was a straight up blessing. So for all those people who didn't have those last minute conversations, or were really much younger than what I was, I feel like that's why I had to do it. That's why I had to dig deep and write about those very intricate moments, where I get to talk to my mom and she got to tell me what she wanted as her last wishes. The technical piece, I was very, very adamant about allowing people who were close to me and two people who weren't close to me to read the book before I put it out or even got with an editor. The people close to me, of course, they gave me their very true and honest opinions about everything. Some people even told me I could go deeper. Some people were like, you should take that out. And some people were like, wow, this was amazing. And so for every amazing comment that I got, I almost wanted a negative comment. I wanted someone to tell me like, no, this is really bad, like you need to take this out. But no one would tell me that. So I went and I got two people who I knew we were kind of cool or whatever, associates, if you will, and I had them read it. No one would say anything negative about it. Of course, they told me like little grammatical errors here or things that, that they would do differently. But everyone was like, wow, I feel healed, and I haven't even gone through this situation. I have not lost a parent. I haven't lost someone super close to me, but the healing powers that I'm feeling through this book, through the words that you wrote, I mean, it's great, And so I took that with a grain of salt because I'm super hard on myself. I'm guessing everybody is, but I'm super hard on myself, especially when it comes to my writing. But I took all that and I hired an editor. And listen, y'all, I love to share all the knowledge and the gems that I got when it came to the technical piece of like getting all the editors and the formatters and who I use. I will give that information freely. Do you hear me? I want to make sure we all win. So there was a young lady that I found on, I believe the app is called, I forgot. I'll give it to you at some point so you can post that or whatever. But I found this app and it's basically for authors. And so I found her, I interviewed her because I was like, I want to make sure somebody understands what the heck I'm saying. Even my little like, LT-isms, like, because I put a lot of that in my book. You can hear my voice in this book. And so I put a lot of those in there. So I wanted to make sure that she understood what I was saying. And come to find out, she had just lost her brother to cancer. And so I was like, boom, girl, you hired, because you already get it. You get it. You get what I'm going through. So, or what I've gone through. And so I hired her. She edited. She gave me, of course, tips and tools to think about. And so that took about 2 months, with final edits and me going back and forth with her. And then I hired a formatter. I knew what I wanted the book to look like. I knew I wanted it very intimate, very personal, but also simple, right? And so I went on Fiverr and I found a formatter, and I found a person who would edit my photos and all that. And my best friend actually was the one who took the photo for my cover. And that was even special to me because her and I were, I mean, she was very close to my mother as well. So that was super special for her to be able to do that. for me.
Yes.
But then I researched, what would be the best possible way to publish this book, and everyone was like, KDP, Amazon. Amazon has I guess it's like a subsidiary, and it's
Mhm.
called KDP, and they are the ones who publishes books for you. So that's who I used. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that was all great, both portions of it. You
Okay.
actually touched on a piece of something that's near and dear to me. So I do still have my mother, but my dad passed. Matter of fact, 3 years ago, March 22nd, it will be 3 years that he passed, or March
I'm sorry.
22nd of 2020. It was right at the beginning of COVID. Not from COVID, but
Okay.
it was at the beginning of COVID. At least we don't think it was. Anywho,
Gotcha.
and the piece where you were talking about you had put everything down and stopped writing to have that conversation with your mom, and you were saying that some
Yeah.
people don't get that. I was one of those people who didn't get that. So the morning that my
Mm.
father passed, he actually had a heart attack and passed on the way home from work. So he
Mm.
called me the morning on his way to work. We were talking, and we were
Hmm.
talking regular old money talk, like we talking about some taxes, like we always talk about money. So
Yeah.
we were talking regular old money talk,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
actually writing a paper, working on my master's. I was writing a paper, and I didn't so I'm kind of halfway listening, talking. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the biggest things, because I was like, had I known that was my last conversation with him, I very easily would have set my computer down and had the conversation with him, even if it wasn't like, hey, let me try to stop it.
Yeah.
Even if I knew it was going to happen, I actually would have taken the time to have
Yeah.
a real conversation with him. So no, that was a big part. You got me super interested. Look, so I told her I was going to read it, but yeah, I'm really going to read it, because I was like,
Yeah.
that one really
Yeah.
touched me quite a
Can
bit.
I ask you a question about that?
Sure,
Are
absolutely.
you free from that?
Yes. So
Okay.
that's
Good.
actually been one of these things that I've been dealing with um as part of my mental health. So when I was talking about forgiveness has been a
Mm-hmm.
major portion for me, starting with
Yeah.
myself. And that was one of the
Myself.
things that I had
Yes,
to
Lord.
forgive myself for. Kind of to the practicality. Let me see. It was let me see, by the time, so 2 episodes I actually did one on forgiveness, and kind
Mhm.
of gave some practical tips onto
Yeah.
how to forgive, because that was one of the things that I had battled with. Everybody was like, hey, you need to forgive, God forgave us, but nobody like ever really tells you how to forgive. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't just snap your fingers and I forgive people, or I forgive myself. So I
Yeah.
went over some of those practical steps so that I could get past those things and stop beating
Good.
myself up so much, because I
Good.
beat myself up about it for a very long time,
It's
as well
easy
as
to
many other
do,
things.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's easy to do. It's so easy to blame yourself for the things that you have no control over, like none whatsoever. So I'm glad you are free from that. That's the first thing that popped in my head when you said that. I was like, oh Lord, I hope he still ain't dealing with that, because that was not your fault at all.
Right.
Not at all.
No. However, admittedly, because I'm actually very big on transparency. I call it my
Mm.
superpower as well. I was dealing with it up until the last 2 months. I was dealing with
Mhm.
it until I learned how to forgive, because I just literally didn't know how to forgive.
Yeah.
Um, and even with you as a minister, um, that's something that I would request or ask, like when we're talking forgiveness, like giving those people those practical steps to it. Obviously not telling you how to be a minister, but like I just know that was
Yeah.
something that was really important to me,
Yeah.
like that real practicality of how to forgive, because there's
Hmm.
so many times when, like I said, we just hold on to stuff. Because until the last 2 months, I didn't even realize, LT, I had never even forgiven anybody in my life ever,
Mm.
and I thought I had, because I didn't think about it. But soon as it came up from 20 years ago, I'm angry.
You angry again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about it in 20 years. I thought that was gone. Nah, it wasn't
Yeah.
gone.
Wow. That's 20 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, like high school, like it was some stuff that I shared on the episode. I won't go on because I don't want to take it away from you. But I had a small little exchange with this guy in high school, and then I mean, I'm talking like 2 sentence exchange, nothing happened, never spoke on
Mm.
it again, about something super stupid, about being in a car club. Like I'm talking something super stupid in high school.
Hmm.
And then in December, after I started learning about forgiveness, the following Monday after I watched the series online. Michael Todd. I watched his
Mhm.
Forgiveness University series
Mhm.
online. And I logged into Facebook one morning in my class of 2006. Anyway, so I logged into the group. Somebody posted a picture of me and some of my friends from high school the night we went to prom. I saw the guy that I got into it. He commented on. He didn't even say anything bad. He just put 100 and a flex on it. That's all he said. I closed my whole Facebook app. I was like, man, I ain't about to comment on this. And I was like, I'm really
Oh
still
my
mad at this
goodness
man for
gracious.
20 years. Yeah, like he ain't have anything to
Yeah.
do with anything. And I was like,
Hmm.
I haven't even thought about it since I've been out of high school. And I was like, I thought that was way
But that day you did, huh?
yeah, to the point I closed my whole app. like, I'm like, oh, okay. Got somebody else I have to forgive. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Wow.
so you told us the process, both the technical, and thank you for that information because that's definitely
Hmm.
some gems. Um, I didn't add this question, but it's important because I know you said you're super hard on yourself. Can you share with us a little bit what it was like, the anticipation of releasing said book? Because I hate to put this on you, and I'm totally assuming, even though I think I'm right, that it
Hmm.
probably is a little nerve wracking. Like, is anybody gonna read this book? Right.
Man,
So you can tell us a little bit
listen,
about that.
the enemy was so heavy on me. Like, I'm talking about even before I decided to publish the book, the
Mhm.
enemy was like, girl, you is nobody. Why would anybody want to listen or read or anything with this book? Like, you're nobody. You are nobody. And I don't know. The God in me that day was like, I'm about to show you.
Mhm.
And so I did it. But yes, man, I was nervous. I had done all the marketing I thought I could do. And I didn't hire anybody to do this. I did this all on my own. I obviously reached out to people. I started learning what Reels was. I started learning what videos and all that kind of stuff and how that would actually even help me. I had a lot of my friends who are techies. They helped me, record a few things or whatever. And I just was trying anything that I could do to make sure that my core group and also any of my followers, and it's crazy because I'm like, I didn't have a lot of followers back then, but or at least 2 years ago when this thing came out. But I was doing anything that I could to make sure that everybody saw this. I mean, I was going back to like my high school friends, like, y'all remember me? Y'all remember the Miss Tammy, the one that y'all used to make googly eyes towards? Someone that was very pretty, by the way. Just sorry, I had to say that. She was gorgeous. But I was going back to like anybody who knew me, who I thought knew me, like, hey, this book is coming out, support. I got uncomfortable with some of these things too because I'm not a flashy person. I'm not a person that's like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm doing something really cool. Like, I'd rather just kind of, I don't know, wait for someone to find out. And that's not how this thing works.
Right.
That's not how this works. Because had I had like been published by, a big publishing company, they would have marketed it,
Right.
right? They would have wanted to make sure they got their money's worth. And so that's what I had to do. I'm like, Latwana, you spent money on this. You've put, and nobody gave you money. You put your own money into this. So you've got to do the work, the hard work, the legwork to make sure that this book comes out, regardless of how you feel, regardless of how you feel if anybody is going to read it, listen to it, whatever the case may be. But yes, I was nervous. I was, man, I had lots of anxiety. I think I probably really experienced an anxiety attack at some point because I just was like, no one's gonna read this. Who cares? You're a girl who lost your mom. Like, everybody loses their mom at some point or has lost their mom at some point. So why is yours so special? But I think what happened was that what I had to remember was that there was an anointing that was attached to this story, right? There was healing that was attached to the story that I didn't have anything to do with, that God had everything to do with. And so I had to stop worrying about the numbers. I had to stop worrying about who was gonna support, who wasn't gonna support. What my main concern was that whoever did purchase it was healed.
Mhm.
That's been my main concern. And I think that's the reason why I'm okay now Like, I don't look at numbers anymore at all. Like, I just don't. Even with my audiobook, I've yet to look at the numbers. I
Awesome.
don't even look at any of that stuff anymore, because what God told me very specifically one day was, it's not about the numbers, it's about who's being healed. And when he said that, when I tell you I was freed,
Ooh, boy.
liberated, I
Ooh,
was.
boy.
And so that's why I'm okay with it, because of the anointing and the healing that was attached to my story. So yes, of course there was anxiety, there was nervousness at first, but I don't have any of those anymore. Not one bit.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, which one. I'm glad we serve the same guy because he told me the exact same thing about a month ago when I decided to do the mental health episode.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really nervous about the financial stuff because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
people have been following me for years on that. Like when I did it, so I wasn't super nervous. But I was
Yeah.
like, I'm switching over to mental health. I was like, who gonna want to listen to me talk about this? Everybody's used to
Yeah.
me just talking about money, 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 money.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first day I put out the episode, um, I logged into it. So normally within the first 2 hours, it'll go anywhere from 25 to 50 listens. This particular
Mm-hmm.
day, it had been up for 4 hours and it had 5 listens. And I was like, see, I was like, nobody's gonna want to listen. And I heard it just as clear as day. God said, let me worry about the numbers and you worry about what I tell you to say. And you say that. And I stopped
Yes,
looking at the numbers.
Lord.
Like, I mean, I heard it as clear as day. And I just closed the app,
Yeah.
let it go,
Yeah.
and moved on. He
Isn't
told me
that
that as
so
clear as day.
freeing though? Like when
It
you
is.
hear that from God, or even when you just get like a little inkling of, oh, don't worry about that. That's not what you need to worry about. That to me is the best feeling ever.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad he spoke to you on that day, because that'll discourage somebody for sure, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's discouraging. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
I totally did. And even in the way that I started looking at it, because I can be extremely logical, just kind of going back to, God to lead the 99 to go get the one. So if
Hmm.
he's concerned about the one, why am I concerned about anything more than one?
Come
If
on
I
and
help
preach
one,
on
if I
tonight.
help one,
Okay.
if I help one person, then I did my job because that's all he worried about is one person. So at a time,
Yes,
so that's where I was just at. I was like, if I help one person, then I did my job. It doesn't have to be
that's
tens
it.
of millions of people, unless he sees
That's
fit.
it.
That'd be great, but just
Right.
how he
I
sees
mean,
fit
hey,
on
if the tens of thousands want to go get it,
that.
I'm
Right.
cool with that too.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm cool with that too.
No, so also, do I got
Hmm.
an exclusive buzzer? I wish I had an exclusive buzzer. So you hinted
Bum,
at
bum, bum,
dropping the,
bum.
yeah, I know DJ Don DeMarco. Actually, before I get into that, I do want to say one thing. I'll probably edit that out, just FYI.
Okay.
The audiobook.
Hmm.
Let's talk about what it was like recording an audiobook because I haven't listened
Okay.
to it yet. And that's what I'm going to do. I am going to listen to the audio version of your book.
Okay.
So was it you recording it? Did you share the reading responsibilities? What was that process like?
It was absolutely me. It
Nice.
was, it had to be.
I like it.
With the content of this book, there was nobody else's voice that was going to fit what
Mhm.
I was talking about.
I like it.
It was never even a thought. It was always going to be
Nice.
me. Fortunately, I have some pretty dope people in my life. And once I said I wanted to do it, they were like, bet, I'll record you. I'll mix it, I'll master it, I'll take care of it. And normally that runs about 18 to 2,500 bucks.
Mhm.
And I was just blessed. I'll say that. I was
Understood.
blessed. And that was a fun experience, actually. That was probably the funnest thing about this whole. I mean, I'm
Mm.
talking from me publishing the soft copy to the hard copy to the Audible. That was probably the funnest part to do.
Mm.
I felt like I was in the studio. I was like,
Mm.
but,
Understood.
but
Understood.
I was really just, it was me in a room, in a dark room. I lit a candle. I had my favorite Dunkin' iced coffee. Um, I had the soft copy in front of me. I had it on my iPad and I had it on my laptop, and I just was reading from the book. And I mean, I got to stop when I wanted to stop, say something over again, because I wanted to make sure that the listener heard it in the way that I actually said it in the book. It was almost nostalgic to me. I
Mm.
mean, I know nostalgia is kind of like, from a long time ago, but some of these things were like from a while ago, and I'm just now, introducing to the public now, but it was just a great experience. I would absolutely encourage anyone who has some sort of self-help book to absolutely do the audiobook, because some people just don't like to read. And I get that, which is why I decided to do the Audible, because sometimes I'm very much a person who will just, put on a podcast in my car or put on a audiobook in my car and let it roll, So that was a great experience. It was fun. I'll say that. It was super fun.
No, awesome. No, thank you for that. And even me, I'm guilty. My problem, I'm always doing a million things. And if I try to sit down and read a book, I fall asleep. So I have to listen to
It
it.
happens.
Yeah. And I can listen to it as I'm doing things throughout the day and
Yeah.
this, that, and the third. So no, definitely gonna get the audio book. And so now what I actually wanted to say a little earlier was, so I happened to notice that you had been hinting at dropping another book soon. So
Yes.
Miss LaTwana actually agreed to give the YMIT podcast listeners a little bit of an exclusive. So if you could tell us whatever sneak peek you do so see fit to share with us.
Yeah. So one of the ways that I pray, I'm not, I'll be 100% with you, and people can, judge how you feel. But as a minister, I think people have this misconception that, you're super holier than thou, and you pray the whole Shekinah glory down and all these kind of things. And yes, that may be for some. I am serious about my faith. I'm serious about my God. I don't play about either one. But the way that I pray is very different than the way other people may pray. I write. I am a writer. I am an author. So I write my prayers. That's how I pray. And it's different. I get it, but it's also my way, right? And I know that I'm not the only person that is out here just writing down their prayers. I know I'm not. And so because of that, because I have, over 1,000 prayers in my phone, I decided to write prayers for the girls just who's just out here trying to function. And that is the title of the new book, is Prayers for the Single Girls Who Just Out Here Trying to Function. And it is supposed to be, I've sectioned it off for different pieces of life of a single woman, right? There's why am I still single? There's why don't I have kids? There's why hasn't God sent me my man yet? Why am I, why am I unlovable? There's so many things that go through our mind. And my whole purpose for this book is to speak to those things in prayer, to affirm people, to affirm women in prayer about those questions that they are going through. Because we all have them. I know, because hello, I have them, and so I wanted to speak to those, and I wanted to pray for those. And it's real short prayers, real short prayers. One thing I learned is that God is not impressed by some long drawn out prayer. He is impressed by the effectiveness of the prayer. And that's what he loves to hear. And so they are short and sweet. And they are for the girls who's just out here trying to function, who don't always have it together, who probably is single and don't have a man, and probably they're feeling like they're nowhere near it. And so that's who it's for. And I'm super excited about it. Like, I'm really excited about this. And I'm still writing it. So I'm hoping to have it done by June. I probably should have said that, but it's fine. That's my motivation right now to get it out. But
Understood.
I'm hoping to have it out by June. And yeah, I'm just, God is good. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And if he
Understood.
chooses to prolong it, then that's his thing. If he decides to give me all these prayers and download them into my brain so I can pour them out, then that's what it is.
No, that is a super dope concept, and I promise I'm not saying that, and I'm actually going to share something with you. So, as a part of my healing journey here, one of the things that I often talk about was I got to the point where I didn't care about anything but having a good night's sleep. Okay, so when it came to me praying each night before bed, I had my prayers that I've always said, but I didn't feel like they were effective enough, and I literally went on the internet and found sleep protection prayers. And I read those sleep protection prayers every single night because they're very specific to what it is that I need.
Wow.
And so, because it's not just God, can I please sleep all night? It's protect my
Mm-hmm.
mind, protect my kids' minds, protect,
Yeah.
all those different things. And they were very, very specific and scripture based. So I love that you have a concept, and that goes back to that practicality piece that we're talking
Yes.
about. And that's that portion. That's literally exactly what I'm talking about when I say that practicality is so big, because praying for a big house doesn't get you a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not how that
It does
works.
not.
Right. Or, praying for sleep doesn't get you a man. Like that doesn't do that or get
Mm-hmm.
you a relationship or whatever the case may be. So no, I really think that's a dope concept, that you actually are being very specific and putting information in one place for a certain demographic of woman that's looking for a certain thing. So they
Yeah.
can be specific, because that's the other thing I found with God. You have to be specific.
You absolutely do.
Make sure y'all be specific. Like when it comes, stop that praying, I'm tired of working here, because then you get fired and you don't work there no more. He answered
then,
your prayer.
then where are you?
Right.
Then where does your help come from?
Yeah, you
Okay.
didn't pray for a new job. You prayed not to work there no more. And then you got it. Now you mad. So be specific, okay?
Yes.
Um,
Be specific.
so before we get out of here, um,
Mm-hmm.
anything, well, actually tell the people where they can find you at.
Yeah. So you can find me on IG at Texas Bella Marie. And that's all spelled out. You can also find Pearls from Mama at Pearls from underscore Mama on IG as well. You can find me on both Facebook as Latwana Taylor and Pearls from Mama on Facebook. And my website is latwanamarie.com. That is where you can find me. And both the hard copy, the soft copy, and the Audible version is available on Amazon, iTunes, and Audible.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. And once again, as I mentioned to you all earlier in the episode, all these will be down in the description of the episode, as well as her book. The Amazon link I'm going to put in my Amazon store on my IG. Okay, so make sure you follow all the social media if you're not already doing so. Um,
Yes.
Also, before we go, anything, a gem, anything you want to leave with us before you go?
Yeah. So one of the things that was really important to me also was creating a safe space, a safe mindset when reading this book. So at the end of the book, there's a playlist of certain songs I was listening to while I was writing. So I want you guys to enjoy that playlist. It's at the back of the book. So enjoy that. It was something that I wanted to do to stand out also. And that's probably been one of the most common comments that I've got is, wow, I can't believe you put a playlist in the back of your book. And people have enjoyed that playlist. They sometimes just listen to it. Like they literally created a playlist of that, all the songs that I put on there. So enjoy that. And just one of the things my mom used to tell me is that you get a choice, right? You get a choice every day. When you wake up, you can decide what kind of day you're getting ready to have. And so my plea to you, listeners, is to choose your day. Choose whether or not you're going to be happy or sad, because you do get a choice, and it will definitely impact the trajectory of your day and your life. So choose wisely.
No, I love that. Well, I know I said we were getting out of here, but I was actually going to comment on it too. I was like, I got to be honest, I have never had a book with an immersive experience to it. So
Yeah.
now you make me want to read the book. Okay, I got to listen to it. I can't listen to it, and now I got to read it.
It's
Okay,
all good. I
I'm
talk
gonna
about
figure
the
it out.
playlist at the end too of the
Okay,
Audible, so you're good. You'll
okay,
still get it.
okay. So I'm gonna go listen to the playlist, get my mind right, then listen to the book. Okay,
Yeah,
I got it. I got
yeah,
it. I got it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
No, but thank you so much,
Of
Lashwana,
course.
definitely again for gracing us with your presence. Once again, for everybody, her social media be down in the description to the episode. And until next time, keep learning, keep being on your grind, and we'll see y'all.
Bye.